Shalom, Kol Haloyim, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakudash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, peace and blessings to the elect. So this article came out 2 days ago from Forbes.com. It says, how close is the U.S. to a recession? Here's what key indicators say. So we're going to jump right into it. We know that according to prophecy, more than a recession is coming. An economic collapse is coming, and the Bible calls it Jacob's trouble. It's going to be a time like never was nor shall be. So it's going to be the worst time that the world has ever seen. And that coincides with some kind of a collapse. So let's read these 3 key facts and maybe a little bit of the article if there's some good info, and then we'll grab some relevant precepts. So the first key fact says, Goldman Sachs reaffirmed its probability of a U.S. recession. Damn. Goldman Sachs reaffirmed its probability of a U.S. recession over the next 12 months at 45%, as the investment bank's chief economist, Jan Hatzius, wrote Tuesday. There is still a high probability of an event-driven downturn. So high probability from Goldman Sachs. And they call it, quote, an event-driven downturn, unquote. So recession. Key fact number 2, Hatzius noted there's still meaningful risk that some of the paused reciprocal tariffs will take effect after all, nodding to the country-by-country levies Trump announced April 2nd, before pausing many of those tariffs a week later as financial markets sold off. So there were tariffs that Trump proposed, and then the market sold off, meaning they went down. It was a bearish market. And then he held off. All right, consumer confidence is low. We can't have this happening to our stock market. He held off on the tariffs. But this guy's saying, and he's a chief economist at Goldman Sachs, he's saying, look, there's still a chance that these tariffs could still come into play. The third key fact says others on Wall Street are more optimistic, as Solita Marcelli, UBS Wealth Management's Chief Investment Officer Americas, wrote Tuesday. She expects the U.S. to dodge a full-blown recession this year as trade deals are agreed and tariffs are reduced. And that's hope. That's what she's hoping. So let's read this article. What needs to happen to trigger a recession? The technical definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth in gross domestic product, a comprehensive measure of all goods and services produced in a country. The U.S. just recorded its first quarter of negative GDP growth since 2022. While that estimate was likely skewed negatively by its methodology, including how it accounts for a surge in gold imports, some will likely say we have entered a recession if the second quarter again registers a negative GDP. However, the National Bureau of Economic Research is the most commonly cited determiner of recessions, and it defines one as a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy and lasts more than a few months. So all of this is just a mouthful. I mean, I'm even have a hard time pronouncing all these goddamn words. Basically, no matter who defines it, it's just a significant downturn in economic activity. Businesses shutting down, people losing jobs, money not circulating in the economy. And you don't need a definition behind it. You can feel it. You know when there's a recession. You know when people aren't going on vacation. They're not spending money like they used to. Your close family, your friends, whoever, your coworkers, people are going to be talking about it. When you see people out here really struggling, getting evicted, things like that, you know, all right, it's a recession. All these definitions, they trying to make it, so particular. That means the U.S. economy could avoid sinking into an all-out recession, even if quarter 2 GDP is negative. if it recovers quickly. So we'll see. We're going to read this. I like this, the first sentence. Does Wall Street expect a recession? Experts largely view the prospect of a tariff-driven recession as a toss-up. Torsten Slok, the chief economist at asset management titan Apollo Global Management, wrote last month he believes there's a 90% probability the U.S. will fall into a voluntary trade reset recession, slamming Trump's trade policies for being implemented in a way that has not been effective after his administration inherited an economy with strong growth. So you basically have these economists that are looking at the tariffs that Trump has out here, and they're like, look, based upon these tariffs and how he's implementing them, we're more than likely looking at a recession. And of course, that's not good for them. This is their world. They want to see it prosper. They don't want to see it go down. So they're trembling. They're worried. And we're going to pause right there because, that's good too, but we'll skip it because the point has been made. My email. The point has been made. We're going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter, is it 3? Am I tripping? It's 12. I was tripping. Because these economists, they're worried. And so it's talked about that in this book, Ecclesiastes 12, verse 1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. So think upon the Lord now. Do his work now, repent now, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after their rain. Meaning before all hell breaks loose, before this wisdom and knowledge is really is gone. Damn near, right? So while you have the opportunity to still receive this wisdom, think upon the Lord right now, before these evil days, before Jacob's trouble. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. Now, a keeper of the house is somebody that's basically, he's a manager of the house. He's overseeing the affairs of the house, making sure things are tidy up in there, things are organized. And if you look at America as a business, as a house, as an organization, the keepers of the house are these different financial experts and these chief economists of these hedge funds and different financial firms. And as we read, a few of them, they're looking at the tariffs that Trump is imposing, and they're like, look, more than likely, we're looking at a recession right now. Now, remember, we know that this recession is going to turn and spiral into something deeper. It's going to come into a full-blown collapse, depression, whatever you want to call it, and eventually Jacob's trouble is going to manifest. Now, some of them know that, some don't. But we know that's what's going to happen. Right now, it's the beginning of sorrow. So they're not fully trembling, but they're worried. And you know they are, because this is their world. They don't want to see their business fall or drop down. So it says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few. The grinders represent the workers. And we're already living in a time right now where a lot of jobs are being lost. A lot of people are being evicted out of their houses. People are complaining daily about how hard it is to find jobs. You have people on TikTok complaining. Damn near people asking for free work. Look, just give me a place to stay. I'll work for free. So it says, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. All that represents Jacob's trouble. It's not going to be a joyous time anymore. People are going to be trembling in fear, confused, wondering why this is happening, where this came from. All right, so think about the Lord right now before these things happen. Because as you can see, the scriptures are playing out perfectly. Playing out perfectly. So we'll grab Jeremiah 30:7, get some basics, some basic precepts. Jeremiah 30, I'll get right to it, verse 7. Alas, for that day is great. And that day is just talking about the day of the Lord, which is a time period. It's a specific time frame in which all hell breaks loose. And that's just the best phrase for us to put it in terms of how bad of a time that it's going to be. It's going to be literally hell here on earth. It says that day is great, meaning very terrible, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. He representing the elect. Man, woman, child, that's the he, the elect. So it's a time of Jacob's trouble, but he, the elect, shall be saved out of it. That's why we don't need to worry. No matter how bad it's going to be, according to prophecy, we're going to be all right. And I'll end off with this, Lord's will. Matthew 24:21. I believe I quoted it in the beginning. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So it's going to be the worst time that the world has ever seen. And people, different houses, oh my gosh, different keepers of the house. I just said housers. These different keepers of the house, these different financial experts, a lot of them are already saying that it's going to be worse than the Great Depression. And we've said that many, many times, but it's important for us to keep saying that so you can get it in your mind how bad of a time that it's going to be. People were committing suicide back then because they just couldn't take it. They couldn't handle how bad the economy was, and they lost all of their savings, their retirements, just gone. So it's going to be worse than that. So expect suicide in that time. Expect even before it, people just to be offing themselves, because it's going to be a time like never was, nor shall be. So these different economists, they're trembling, they're scared right now, but things will get worse. But that means that it's a good thing for the elect. Things will be good for the elect because we need prophecy to take place. So look forward to all these things happening and be joyous when it does. So anyway, Lord's will that was edifying to the elect. Call Loyam Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rachakudash, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.